Hey folks, how's it going? Plastic Guy here, coming back with another figure review, and today we're checking out the latest Marvel Legends Spider-Man figure coming from Hasbro as part of their new Maximum series. This is the first figure from the Maximum series, and this line is essentially going to be a more premium product from Marvel Legends. It's coming with more accessories and interchangeable parts, and that means it is going to cost more money than your baseline standard figure. So this actually costs around £50, pretty much double the price of your normal run-of-the-mill Marvel Legends figure. And that has caused a bit of controversy. I have not seen so many people talking about a Marvel Legends figure in a long time, and I feel like a lot of the criticisms for this figure were coming before it was even released to the general public. I really wanted to hold off on any judgment until I got the figure in hand. Of course, I'm a massive Spidey fan. I do really like Marvel Legends. I love the look of McFarlane's Spider-Man, so I did have to pick this up regardless of the cost. However, that is something we're going to look at in this video. Is it worth it? Well, let me know down in the comment section below your guys' thoughts. Have you picked this up? Are you going to pick it up? Are you holding off? Yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. And let's not wait any longer, let's just jump right into the video and take a closer look at the packaging. So we do get a new style of packaging with our Maximum series Spider-Man here. To compare it to a more standard Marvel Legends box, we have Movie Venom here, and I would say this is the sort of go-to Marvel Legends style of packaging. It has switched up over the years, but they are pretty much back to this style here. But with our Marvel Legends coming with the more interchangeable parts and accessories, they have went for a bigger box this time around. And I think I'll start the Mafex comparisons with that being said, because I do think the boxes are a wee bit similar here. Now, Marvel Legends are always being compared to Mafex, and I've said in the past how I don't necessarily think that it is a fair comparison, mostly due to the price difference between a base Marvel Legends figure and of course your import Mafex. But I think the comparison is more applicable than ever this time around, because of course with this being a more expensive figure, the price gap between the two has definitely closed. This is still around £10 to £20 more expensive, but again, the gap between them has been significantly lessened. However, more on the Mafex comparisons later. Taking a closer look at the box here, I do really like this style of packaging. You can see the logos and product images have this nice shiny gloss that allows it to kind of pop from that card back here. The top of the packaging, we've got Marvel Legends, Maximum series Spider-Man. You can see some sort of comic panels in the background there. We have the display on the front, again Marvel Legends in the top left, some warnings, and we get to see the figure with some of the stuff included. More logos at the bottom here. Side of the packaging, other side of the box there. We can see very McFarlane styled poses on the box, and here is the back of the packaging with a nice big product image. There's no write-up, no pictures of the accessories included or anything here, but yeah, I quite like it. But let's get to see what is actually coming inside of the box. So let's do what we always do here on the channel and check out what we get with the figure. What are the interchangeable parts and accessories? I feel like this is probably as important as ever in this figure review, because the interchangeable parts and accessories is one of the main reasons Hasbro have described this as a more premium figure and justified their massive price hike. So let's check out what we actually get for the price. So we get these two long web lines with our new Spidey, and they are pretty much identical to one another in their colour and sculpt. One comes to more of an abrupt end and the other one tails off. And I think this is probably the best web accessory that we have gotten from Marvel Legends. I've had a lot of fun using these with the figure. It's this soft plastic that you can just move around. It flows around the figure and you can hold it really well in these webline holding hands. But I do think it would be improved with some bendy wire. If you've got this web accessory in Spidey's hands, you want the web going up to the skyscrapers. That's how he's swinging. But because it's this soft plastic, it just sort of droops down in some of the poses, and it looks a bit silly. If they had some bendy wire in the ends, you know, you could just pose it so it is going to be sticking up to the sky instead of just dropping down over the hands. But I really like it for the most part. Again, I do think it is the best web accessory that we've gotten from Marvel Legends. The sculpt is excellent. It is quite reminiscent of the spaghetti webbing that we see in the Spidey comics. But yeah, the practicality of it, I think, could be improved. So McFarlane toys often include flight stands with their £20 figures. CT Toys have been giving us flight stands with their £15 bootlegs, and Hasbro have not included a flight stand with their £50 premium Spider-Man figure. I think that is quite disappointing, especially when they have included this stand for a web accessory. Okay, I'll probably use this here and there when it comes to photos, but I'm not super stoked on this accessory. I don't think it's a must-have accessory for your Spider-Man figure. I think it looks alright with the translucent plastic and the sculpt here, but personally, I'm not really going to have much use for this. Again, I might use it in a couple shots in the future, but I'm not super stoked on this. I feel like we could have included better accessories. And I kind of feel the same way with this web shield. Okay, they've done it pretty well. The translucent plastic, the sculpt of it looks really nice. But how often are you posing Spider-Man with his web shield? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm not hating on it. I do prefer it to this one, I think. But yeah, when I think of Spider-Man, I'm not like, oh yeah, he's got that common web shield ability. I really hope they include that with the £50 figure. You know, go ahead and include it, but I think you also then need to include better accessories. And in my opinion, this should have came with a flight stand, should have came with a backpack, a skateboard, something that is a lot more fun than whatever on earth this is. And a web shield. Again, include these in the price, but give me a wee bit more. I don't know, I feel like it's pretty lackluster. This one I like. I feel like this is more appropriate for Spidey. You know, this bit would attach to a ceiling, you could hang from it, it could be a big web blast, you could have it going onto a villain. This is more practical for Spider-Man. I feel like you are going to come across this a lot more in the comics. And I'm happy to get something like this included, because again, they've executed it well. It looks good, it looks the part, especially with the kind of longer strands going around the bottom. It definitely, again, is reminiscent of McFarlane's Spidey. Pretty messy, but done right. I'm happy with this. I think it is better than the previous two web accessories that we've looked at. My favourite is still the web lines. We then get the spider sense effect, and I do really like this. I think this is definitely something that should be included with a Spider-Man figure, and they've done a great job with it. I'm happy getting something like this because you can use it in a lot of different shots, and it's not something we've necessarily gotten from other toy companies in the past. I don't think I've got any other spider sense effects, and I've got Mafex, Revoltech, Figuarts. There might be one with the Revoltech, but for the most part, I think Marvel Legends are one of the only companies to do this at this point, and it looks like they've done it really well. I like that translucent plastic with the painted strands coming over it. I've not actually used this yet in any shots, so let's see how it's going to work. If we just kind of pop it on his head here, there we go. I really like that. I think it's a really worthwhile accessory that they've done a really good job at. And then something else I'm really stoked on are these web shooter ungloved hands. Again, I don't think this is an accessory that's really been included from any other toy company since Toy Biz. Like, this is really cool, and I think again they have done this really well. I like this silver sort of gauntlets here. It's a nice plastic effect coming up over onto the palm. You've got the web shooting hand, and on this one he's got this more open hand. You can see the web shooter in the palm there. Really nicely done, and again I'm glad that they've included this. I think it's something you can make use of quite often, and it is a fun accessory that hasn't been done much in the past. We get a wall crawling hand for each arm. The clobbering time fisted hands are ported into the figure at the moment, so we'll see them later on. We also get these web line holding hands, and again these work really well with those longer web lines that we looked at. We get these web flipping hands, and I think the most noticeable thing with them is on the right hand the pinky is a lot more curved. That's not something we've really seen from these Marvel Legends web flipping hands in the past, but I think it works pretty well. It's a bit more interesting and unique to our Maximum Series Spidey here. And then we get these web flipping hands with an added web effect, and I do really like these for the most part, but we do get the web flipping hands without the web effect, so I feel like if you are going to go down this road, you should just make the web effects a lot bigger. I feel like it would work better in shots, especially with this one. I would bring the web effect right down. I feel like it would fill up the space a lot better, and so I do really like them. I think they look good, but personally I would like the web effects to be a bit bigger. If you're going to do this, you might as well just go all the way with it. And then we get our first of 3 head sculpts with our Maximum Series Spider-Man. We've got the Peter Parker head sculpt here, and I wish I liked this more than I do. I feel like it is pretty accurate to McFarlane's Peter Parker. I really like the hair here, the wee lip at the back. Sculpting looks great, especially with the wee bits coming down over the forehead at the front. I like the expression, everything's painted really nicely here, but he looks like a maniac. He is on something, he's wired. Look at those eyes. Aunt May's going to need to pull out the drug test kit, and it's really unfortunate. I love getting alter ego head sculpts, especially when it's my favourite hero. You know, I love a Peter Parker head sculpt, and I was planning to use this in a good few shots. You could even use it on other Spider-Man figures, but he looks scary, and I feel like I'm not really going to use this as much as I'd like due to those eyes. I would really be interested in seeing how someone could repaint this and make it look less scary, I guess. So yeah, I think it's so close to being great, but those eyes really set it back. He looks like he could be a serial killer, and he's meant to look like a hero. And then here is one of 2 mask sculpts. Here is our base figure to kind of compare the 2 head sculpts here. They are very similar to one another. They are, you know, the same mask, but we do have slightly different expressions in the eye area. You can see the black lenses round the side are thicker on the one that's on the figure compared to this one here, which is a more standard neutral head sculpt. And I do really like both of these mask sculpts from Marvel Legends. I think they are very accurate to McFarlane. I don't think there's really any doubt on who this Spidey is. I've seen folks saying that the lenses should be closer together. I somewhat agree. I think it would look a wee bit more McFarlane accurate if those lenses were closer to the middle of the mask there, but I do think this looks really good for the most part. My biggest gripe is that McFarlane drew the masks slightly different over the years, and there's a very iconic look to McFarlane that I feel we've missed out on here. If this is meant to be the McFarlane Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure, I wish we got an extra masked head sculpt where the lenses were closer to the middle of the eyes, and we had that iconic look where the white of the lenses was creeping into the middle of the mask close to the nose. I've seen customizers make those head sculpts and they've done such a good job. I might actually have to pick one up myself to use with this figure, but I don't really want to give this figure anymore. I don't want to throw any more money at this figure, you know. But I feel like Marvel Legends have definitely missed the mark by not including that head sculpt, because we want all the McFarlane options, and having 2 of these masked ones that are very similar to one another is great, but I do feel like we have missed out on getting another look to the McFarlane Spidey that, again, I've seen customizers do so well, and I know Marvel Legends could have nailed it after seeing these ones here. So I'm happy with the ones that we get. I'm more so just annoyed that we don't get a wee bit more again for that price point. Now, before we move on to the figure, as I said at the start of the video, those interchangeable parts and accessories were a big reason for being able to put the price up and charge £50 for this Spider-Man figure. Now, I've seen a lot of folk comparing this Marvel Legends to the likes of the Black Widow Marvel Legends figure, because it was a base Marvel Legends figure that came with a lot of accessories. And I think it is a good comparison, because that was a really great Marvel Legends, had a really good base figure to it, great articulation similar to what we can see here, and I counted up all the interchangeable parts and accessories included with that figure. Now, not breaking it down into categories, it included interchangeable heads, effects, weapons, interchangeable hands, and altogether with our Black Widow Marvel Legends figure, we got 16 interchangeable parts and accessories. We get 18 with this Maximum Series Spider-Man. Where does that massive price increase come in at? Because it's £20 more expensive than Black Widow. Now, I know the cost of everything has been going up over the years. I'm sure that's got a lot to do with it. There is going to be hidden costs that consumers aren't necessarily taking into account. But it does seem like quite a big increase for 2 extra accessories. Anyway, onto the figure itself. I do really like this mask as well. I do think this is the more McFarlane-esque one out of the 2. I've used this one more in the shots that I've taken so far, and thankfully I don't really have any QC issues on the head sculpt. Of course, there was that infamous picture going around where the web lines didn't even match up. Of course, a bummer. You are always going to get figures with QC issues from every company, but it's not going to feel great when you get them with a more premium £50 Spider-Man figure. And that's how I felt when I seen that the shoulders on this guy are completely chewed up. This was like this straight out of the packaging, both shoulders. You can see there's a big dent here and another one there. Now, I'm not too bummed about it. It's pretty hard to see, to be honest, especially in the shots that I've taken so far. When you get this guy into a Spider-Man pose, it's definitely hidden, but that's not what you expect to get out of the package on a £50 figure, you know? I think, touch wood, that is the only QC issue that I have with this thing. The other picture that I'd seen that I was like, oh, what's going on there? Someone had taken a picture of the back of the figure, and the leg on the back logo here went right out. The picture looked very similar to that, and I was like, oh, that's an annoying QC issue. Then when I got the figure in hand, I realised that that is just what they have done. Why? Can anyone tell me why they have done that? How stupid does that look? The logo is pretty much 100% on the back there. They did not need to add the red paint to that butterfly joint to have the legs extend that far. It looks utterly ridiculous. But that's probably my biggest faults with this thing. Apart from that, I have had a lot of fun posing this guy around. Of course, I've tried to replicate a lot of McFarlane poses, and I've had no problems with it. I don't really do articulation on the channel because I wasn't really great at showcasing everything, but I do think it will be worthwhile running over some things with this figure. And I was really happy with how far you could get the head looking up. It worked in a lot of web swinging McFarlane style poses, so that was really cool. And of course, this is a bit of a new system. When we grab the likes of the Renew Your Vows Marvel Legends Spidey, we can see the neck is actually part of the body mold. On this one, the neck is separate, so you can move the neck at the bottom of the neck as well as moving the head at the top there. So that's something new to our Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures. The butterfly joints on this thing are really good. I really like the range of movement there. And then the rest of it is very similar to the likes of our retro molded Spidey. You've got that ab crunch with the torso articulation there. And again, I've managed to get this thing in all the McFarlane styled poses that I would really want it to. Another thing that's a lot different to the likes of the retro carded Spidey is because we have those web shooter gauntlet arm bits, these bits do pop off the arm, and so you do have movement in that forearm area that is fairly new again to our Marvel Legends Spideys. The figure is pinless, so it definitely has a premium feel there. But I will say, you know, with, again, kind of bringing in a Mafex comparison, and we will bring in the Mafex Spidey to compare this directly, it doesn't feel as nice in hand as a Mafex or an SH Figure Arts import Spidey figure. It does just feel like your run-of-the-mill Marvel Legends. It doesn't feel any different. There is no premium feel to this. And I do feel like that is a wee bit of a letdown. You know, when you're spending that wee bit more money and you get the figure in your hand for the first time, I didn't expect it to just feel like the £25 AF15. I don't know, maybe that was stupid of me, but I do think it's worth noting. However, I really like the body mold here. I really like these sort of striations in the costume and the leg area. Those wee details really make like photographs and things, and it's really nice to see just the wee added details that they've included on the body mold. There isn't really much sculpting at all, it is all painted on there. We can see the McFarlane styled chest logo. I do think it looks really good. I like the colours on it. And I think that's really about everything. We've got the toe articulation. I did say I was going to run over articulation and just skipped a bunch. So yeah, you've got the drop down legs. You can really get the thing in the McFarlane style poses there. Of course, you've got double jointed knees, the toe articulation. Everything is pretty much what we're used to from retro carded Spidey at that point. And so to directly compare our new Maximum Series McFarlane Spider-Man Marvel Legends to the comic Mafex 75 Spidey here, we can see that they are standing around the same height. The proportions are very similar, and it's funny because a lot of the criticisms I've seen for the new Maximum Series Spidey came from early photos that collectors posted where they had the figure in a fairly neutral pose and it looked really janky, and I'm starting to think those pictures were deliberately misleading because you can get this guy in a vanilla pose and I think he looks great here, especially standing him next to the Mafex. He looks really sleek. The question then comes, what is the better figure? And I think it's still the Mafex, and that's just my personal opinion. I agree with everyone that says that the Mafex is the best looking comic Spidey figure. It just ticks all the boxes for me. I love the paint. Again, it has this premium feel to it that you really can't beat when you take that figure out of the box. I do feel like it is more worth the money for the sculpt, the look of it, the feel of it, and all the accessories that we get with the figure. I'm going to touch more at the end of the video whether I feel like the Marvel Legends is truly worth that price point, but I do feel like the Marvel Legends wins points on the McFarlane style of figure. I do see a lot of folks saying that the Mafex is a McFarlane styled Spider-Man figure, and I definitely think McFarlane has inspired the look of the Mafex, but I do see a varied amount of artists in the Mafex. I get very Eric Larson vibes and Sal Buscema from the Mafex, and so if you are a McFarlane fan, you want to get the ultimate McFarlane looking Spider-Man figure, I don't think anyone would disagree that the Marvel Legends is definitely a more McFarlane styled Spidey, and that would kind of take points away from the Mafex. But if you're just going figure to figure, price point to price point, I mean the Marvel Legends is still £20 cheaper than the Mafex, so that does make it a bit more difficult. I don't know. I think the Mafex wins, but I would love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments section below. Then we've got our legitimate Mafex 185 action figure on the left and the CT Toys bootleg version standing on the right. We've taken a look at a lot of the CT Toys bootlegs here on the channel, so I did want to stand them next to our new Maximum Series Marvel Legends, especially when we're talking about pricing, you know, £50 for everything included with the Marvel Legends. And then you've got this CT Toys bootleg that's less than 20 quid with, you know, nearly the same amount of interchangeable parts and accessories that are just as good. Of course, they are ripping off a legitimate company, but surely there is still something there that needs to be looked at. But, you know, a lot of folk want to talk about QC as well, especially with Marvel Legends, and point out how, you know, you're paying this money for a Marvel Legends and the QC is awful. All the worst QC issues that I've had personally comes from import companies, and one of my least favourite is the head sculpt of the 185 here. That white smudge on the mask just stands out like a sore thumb to me. It's such a bummer, and I definitely think I'm going to pick up a custom head sculpt for the Mafex 185. Then to compare our new McFarlane Marvel Legends Spidey next to some other Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures, we've got the retro carded figure on the left. I do have the Raph Spider-Man head sculpt on the retro carded figure, which is definitely a more McFarlane styled head sculpt, so I guess it works with the comparison here. And we've got the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man here on the right. Our McFarlane in the middle does seem to have a wee bit smaller proportions. He's standing a wee bit smaller to these other two Marvel Legends figures. And honestly, I think if you have either one of these Spider-Man figures, you've got a Spider-Man Marvel Legends that is just as good as the Maximum Spider-Man. I don't think this is particularly any better than the Renew Your Vows, or as we'll see, maybe the AF-15. It is just a different style of Spidey, and I love the McFarlane style of Spider-Man. I love those comics, and so I was really inclined to pick this new Marvel Legends up. But if you aren't really bothered about the McFarlane look to the character, and you do have one of these other Marvel Legends figures, I wouldn't really feel like you're missing out on anything here. And then we've got the AF-15 Spider-Man, which takes the sort of best aspects of the articulation on the Renew Your Vows and the retro card, and it applies it to this different body type for Spider-Man, more of a first appearance Spider-Man that's been reused on other Spideys. And again, they've taken that articulation and then applied it to a different body type for the McFarlane Spider-Man here, and I do really like that. I think this articulation setup for these Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures are excellent. I have a lot of fun posing all of these Spider-Man Marvel Legends figures, and I do hope they kind of continue this run. I hope we get different style of Spider-Man figures in the same way that we did with Toy Biz all those years ago, while keeping this really fantastic and fun articulation. When it comes down to these two, I would again say they are just as good as each other. It's just going to come down to the personal preference of which style of Spider-Man that you prefer. The one thing about the Marvel Legends here, as opposed to the Toy Biz, Toy Biz gave us different style of Spider-Man figures left, right and centre, and they were all the same price. I feel like it's a bit wild that they've taken this Spider-Man figure and charged £50 for him, and so if they are going to be giving us different style of Spider-Man figures in the future, I do hope they come at a more affordable cost. And I think that brings me to the sort of nature of Hasbro and Marvel Legends. We know what they're like, and I am really not going to be surprised when they do a wee repaint of the McFarlane Spider-Man figure within the next year or two and sell it for half the price. I think we all know that's going to happen, right? I think it's just a case of when is that going to happen. I would be interested to see a black suited symbiote McFarlane Spider-Man on this body mold. That of course makes sense. But if they just do a different shade of blue, shove it in a baseline with a few less accessories and charge £25, I'm gonna be peed off, that's for sure. But again, I'm not gonna be surprised. And then here we have our new McFarlane Marvel Legends Hasbro Spider-Man figure next to the Toy Biz McFarlane Spider-Man figure. This has often been cited as the best Toy Biz Spider-Man figure, let alone the best McFarlane styled action figure. And I do think having these two side by side, it looks like Hasbro have done a great job at giving us an upgraded modern McFarlane Spidey. And so there we have it for our new Marvel Legends Maximum Series Spider-Man action figure. And is it worth that price point? For me, not really. It's not far off, but it isn't quite cutting it. Personally, it comes down to the accessories for me. I feel like they've thrown in a couple of just nonsense accessories that could be a lot better. This is my least favourite. I'm never going to use this. Fair enough, Web Shield was kind of cool, but give us a camera, give us a backpack, a loose mask accessory, an additional head sculpt, a skateboard. For that price point, And when you bring up the comparison of the previous Black Widow Marvel Legends figure that cost £27, I just don't really see what is justifying that crazy price hike. And Spider-Man is my favourite character, so I was happy to pick this figure up. I'm happy that I do have this version of this Marvel Legends Spider-Man figure. But when it comes to the likes of the Hulk, and I'm not really sure what other characters are rumoured at the moment, I know Hulk is pretty much confirmed, but I'm really not interested in paying that price point to pick them up. Yeah, we'll see where the Maximum series goes. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. While you're down there, guys, if you could do me a massive favour and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below. I'm going to post a lot of pictures of this figure up over there because, again, I do really like this figure and it is a lot of fun to pose around, and so I'm going to keep posing it around. I'll keep posting pictures of him. I just don't think he's quite worth the £50 price point, but if you want to see those pictures, check out the link in the description. Feel free to hop on over to the channel page. There are a lot of Spider-Man figure reviews over there. It'd mean a lot if you could check them out, or hit one of the videos that's going to pop up on the screen at the moment. Thank you guys so much for watching this video right here, and as always, I'll catch yous on the flip-flop later. Cheers.